Yeon-hee is a modest, shy girl who leads a very ordinary life. Her everyday life is filled with mundane chores and dreams of exciting changes in her life. As a big fan of the popular group EXO, she often imagines how great it would be to meet her idols. But for Yeon-hee, it remains just a dream, as she can't even imagine being around such famous people. Yeon-hee comes home one day and notices that there are new tenants in the house next door. Her mom casually mentions that they are young people who are renting the house from their family. Yeon-hee doesn't think much of it at first, until she accidentally notices silhouettes through the window, where she sees EXO members, including Chanyeol and D.O. Her heart sinks. She can't believe her eyes. These people she's only seen on screen are now living next door to each other, trying to cope with her overwhelming emotions. Yeon-hee initially decides to stay away, so as not to look awkward or intrusive. However, her mother soon puts her in front of the fact that she'll have to help her new housemates with cleaning duties. Yeon-hee tries to refuse, making the excuse of shyness, but her mom insists, coaxing her that it's just a small job. The next day, with trepidation in her knees and excitement in her heart, Yeon-hee heads to EXO's house. She can barely gather her thoughts, imagining that she's about to come face to face with the stars she admires so much. When she arrives, she hesitates to ring the doorbell and spends a few minutes on the doorstep, thinking about how not to embarrass herself and make a good impression. The door opens and Chanyeol appears in front of her. His friendly smile confuses Yeon-hee a little. He seems open and direct, as if they've known each other for a long time. He greets her, trying to get her to talk, but sees Yeon-hee blushing and embarrassed, barely able to answer his questions. Chanyeol finds this amusing and decides to make a little joke about her shyness to warm things up. He gives his words a touch of sarcasm, but Yeon-hee only gets more embarrassed. D.O soon appears, but unlike Chanyeol, he's reserved and asks if she's comfortable working here. He treats her with respect, and this helps Yeon-hee feel more comfortable. Even so, her heart is racing, and she tries to hide her excitement, afraid that her behavior will seem strange to them. Yeon-hee's first day at work turns into a series of awkward and funny moments. She tries not to draw attention to herself, but still gets into ridiculous situations. She accidentally drops things, gets lost in answering simple questions, and blushes every time she is addressed. Chanyeol, seeing how embarrassed she is, begins to tease her by making fun of her confusion. This brings levity to the situation, and even D.O begins to smile as he watches their interaction. For Yeon-hee, working for EXO becomes a real challenge, but she realizes that her shyness is slowly fading away. A confidence is building up inside her that she might be able to get close to them if she is brave enough. However, her admiration for them keeps her from relaxing, and every time they look at her, she feels her breath catching. The next day, despite all the excitement, Yeon-hee returns to EXO's house. Although she is still confused and nervous, the memories of yesterday's warm welcome calms her down a bit. Now she gets to spend even more time with the group members, helping them around the house. As she walks up to the door, she feels her heart start to race again, but decides to deal with the feeling. When the door opens, she's greeted by D.O. With his characteristic restraint, his calm and friendly gaze helps Yeon-hee relax a little. He shows her what needs to be done and explains that any help would be welcome. Yeon-hee nods gratefully, feeling her shyness begin to ease a little in his presence. However, as soon as Chanyeol appears, her calmness immediately crumbles. He immediately notices her embarrassment and, without missing an opportunity to tease her, greets her loudly and playfully, asking her if she's at a loss for words. Yeon-hee blushes even more, but tries to hide her embarrassment by concentrating on cleaning. Chanyeol, noticing her shyness, continues to ask questions, clearly enjoying her reaction. He asks how long she's been listening to their music and who her favorite member is, clearly provoking her into a confession. Yeon-hee answers barely audibly, trying not to give away her excitement. Meanwhile, D.O smiles discreetly as he watches their interaction. He tries not to interfere, but still suggests that Chanyeol not embarrass Yeon-hee too much. Chanyeol jokingly apologizes, but doesn't miss the opportunity to wink at Yeon-hee again, confusing her even more. As Yeon-hee works alongside them, she begins to notice details that were previously unnoticed by her fans. For example, Chanyeol is quite easygoing and cheerful, but at times he's withdrawn into his own thoughts as if he's hiding something. D.O, on the other hand, is always calm and serious, but doesn't mind cracking a joke or cheering Yeon-hee up when he sees her struggling to cope with her anxiety. The more Yeon-hee spends time with them, the more she feels her affection gradually growing. She begins to see them not just as idols, but as people who can be her friends. However, Every time she encounters Chanyeol's friendly gaze or D.O's soft smile, her heart sinks and she has to gather her strength to keep working and not give away her feelings. During tea break, Chanyeol decides to continue teasing her by asking which one of them she likes better. Yeon-hee embarrassedly replies that she can't choose since they're both really good. Chanyeol laughs at her response, but D.O suggests that he spare the girl a bit. This slight rivalry between them becomes more and more obvious to Yeon-hee. She can't help but notice that each of them is trying to draw her attention to themselves in some way, and a friendly tension gradually develops between them, albeit in a playful way. At one point, D.O offers to help Yeon-hee with the cooking, and she agrees, feeling her shyness loosen up a bit. Chanyeol jokes that he could use some help too, but D.O assures him that Yeon-hee is busy right now. This becomes the first signal to Yeon-hee that her presence is eliciting different reactions from the EXO members, and that an unspoken battle for her attention has begun between them. She feels a little awkward, but at the same time this attention makes her day brighter. After spending the day with EXO, Yeon-hee realizes that she has a hard road ahead of her, as she is no longer just a fan, but a person who becomes a part of their daily lives. She has a hard time figuring out how to deal with her feelings because she doesn't want to be the cause of discord between D.O and Chanyeol. However, her heart is increasingly drawn to both of them, and she doesn't know how to deal with the situation. Returning home, Yeon-hee realizes that her life has truly changed. Every day she spends with EXO is a new stage in her personal development and overcoming her fears. Chanyeol's jokes and D.O soft words still echo in her head, and she feels her affection for them growing. As Yeon-hee continues to work for EXO, her shyness gradually fades away, and she feels more and more confident around the members. But Chanyeol decides it's time to say goodbye to her shyness and starts teasing her even more. His goal is to help Yeon-hee relax, but his jokes and sudden questions only embarrass her more. D.O, on the other hand, always stays close by and tries to protect her from Chanyeol's excessive attention, trying not to make her more embarrassed. One morning when Yeon-hee arrives at work, Chanyeol decides to come up with a new joke. He suddenly announces that he and D.O have decided to give her a test on her knowledge of EXO. Yeon-hee is lost at first, because she's not ready for this kind of attention, but then she realizes that Chanyeol is doing it with good intentions. Laughing, he starts asking her questions, simple ones at first, but then he makes them more complicated. D.O is looking at Yeon-hee with a slight smile the whole time, as if to say he's on her side, but is also interested in waiting for her answers. Chanyeol asks if Yeon-hee knows each of the members' favorite song, or where they prefer to vacation. She's shy, but surprisingly answers quite accurately, much to the admiration of both guys. D.O, seeing that she's doing well, decides to ask a few questions as well, but his questions are much more personal and less superficial. He asks about her own interests, what she likes to do, and what she dreams about. These questions make her open up a little more than she expected, and Yeon-hee begins to feel that D.O is interested in her as more than just a casual acquaintance. As the conversation continues, Chanyeol becomes more and more attached to her directness and sincerity. He sees how she tries to answer questions, despite her embarrassment, and realizes that she manages to be herself even under their scrutiny. Noticing this, tenses up slightly, and an unspoken rivalry begins to brew between them. Each of them tries to get Yeon-hee's attention, and she gets a little embarrassed, as she's not used to being the center of attention from two people at once, especially bright personalities like Chanyeol and D.O. Later that day, while Yeon-hee is cleaning Chanyeol's room, he approaches her to thank her for her patience. He says that he finds her extraordinary and inspiring because she's not afraid to deal with her fears. These words make her smile and feel warmth in her chest. For the first time, she sees that Chanyeol can be serious and caring, and begins to see him not just as an idol, but as a friend who understands her. Something more than just friendliness develops between them, and Yeon-hee feels it's getting harder and harder for her to hide her sympathy. Their moment is interrupted, however, when D.O walks into the room and notices their closeness. He doesn't show it, but Yeon-hee catches a slight tension in his gaze. He politely invites her into the kitchen to help him with dinner, and Chanyeol, with a smirk of teasing, lets her go. In the kitchen, D.O acts tactful and caring, showing her how to prepare a few simple but delicious dishes. He patiently explains everything, and Yeon-hee catches herself enjoying being around him, listening to his calm voice. And D.O is supportive rather than rushing her, and her heart sinks at his sincere kindness. These moments of warm companionship make her think that her feelings have grown stronger, She feels comfortable and relaxed in D.O's company, but at the same time, she is drawn to the fun and bright Chanyeol. She realizes that a competition for her attention is brewing between them, but is afraid of how her affection for them might affect their friendship. Before leaving, Yeon-hee tries to mentally reassure herself that she doesn't want to ruin the harmony between the band members. However, her heart tells her that she can't avoid it. She concludes that she must keep her feelings under control so as not to cause a rift between Chanyeol and D.O. Nevertheless, she finds it difficult to cope with emotions that grow stronger every day, and she realizes that this ordeal will not be as easy as she thought. Every day is a challenge for Yeon-hee. Working in the EXO house requires not only attention to detail, but also constant control over her feelings. Interactions with Chanyeol and D.O. become more and more complicated. There is an invisible rivalry between them, and both members of the group try to get her attention in their own way. Yeon-hee's duties now include helping with daily chores such as grocery shopping, cooking, and even scheduling. Chanyeol and D.O. see how hard Yeon-hee tries, and each expresses their gratitude to her in their own way. Chanyeol sometimes leaves her little notes of humorous thanks, and D.O., who is more reserved, always offers her his help when he sees that she's tired. This attention begins to touch her to the core. One day, when Yeon-hee is helping in the kitchen, Chanyeol suddenly decides to have a little cooking contest, asking her to cook a few dishes together. He wants to show off his cooking skills and impress her, but immediately calls D.O. to join in to add an element of competition. D.O., albeit reluctantly, agrees, realizing that he can spend more time with Yeon-hee this way. As they cook, the atmosphere becomes more and more casual, and Yeon-hee begins to laugh heartily, forgetting her shyness. Chanyeol makes jokes to try to cheer her up, and D.O. occasionally adds comments that make her smile. This friendly interaction between them makes her feel warm and happy, as if they've known each other for a long time and are spending a regular evening together. When the dishes are ready, they decide to have a tasting to choose the best. Yeon-hee evaluates them with a serious look, while Chanyeol and D.O. wait for her verdict, watching her reaction with obvious interest. When she announces the winner, Chanyeol, even if he loses, pretends not to be upset, but simply teases the result, eliciting another laugh. As time goes on, however, Yeon-hee begins to notice that Chanyeol and D.O. are acting more and more attentive to her than before. She realizes that both of them are showing interest in her, and it gives her mixed feelings. On the one hand, she feels joy and excitement, but on the other hand, she's afraid of ruining the friendship between them. As the day comes to an end, and Yeon-hee is about to leave, Chanyeol suddenly stops her and thanks her for making their days brighter. There's sincerity in his words, and Yeon-hee feels like he's saying it from the bottom of his heart. Her heart sinks, and she doesn't know how to react, but that's when D.O. just shows up to say goodbye to her. He looks at her with a warm gaze, and she realizes that each of them is willing to support her despite the budding romantic feelings between them. The tension between Chanyeol and D.O. is gradually building up, and Yeon-hee senses it. She notices that both guys are increasingly trying to spend time alone with her, and even simple conversations turn into a competition. She's embarrassed by their attention, and though she tries to act calm, her heart won't stop beating faster around them. When Yeon-hee arrives at EXO's house one morning, she finds herself in an unusual situation. Chanyeol and D.O. seem to have decided to seriously compete for her attention. They offer her different tasks at the same time. Chanyeol invites her to help him choose new music, and D.O. asks her to assist him in his cooking experiments. Yeon-hee, unsure of what to do, tries to explain that she has work to do, but their friendly rivalry becomes obvious. Finally, she agrees to help Chanyeol with the music first. They sit down next to each other and start listening to tracks. At one point, Chanyeol offers her his headphones, and Yeon-hee embarrassingly accepts them. They share the headphones for two, and at that moment, their gazes meet. Chanyeol smiles, and Yeon-hee feels a blush flood her cheeks. For her, this moment proves to be particularly touching. Their moment is interrupted, however, when D.O. appears, reminding her that she promised to help him in the kitchen. Yeon-hee, feeling guilty, hurries over to him, leaving Chanyeol with a slight smile. Though there's something more glimmering in his eyes, she feels the same warmth and comfort now that she's with D.O. And as she helps him cook, she forgets her embarrassment. D.O. tells her stories, sometimes making cute comments that make her smile genuinely. Sensing an air of lightness, D.O. gently mentions that she shouldn't be afraid to be herself. His words touch Yeon-hee, and she responds with gratitude, feeling truly at ease around him. At that moment, Chanyeol peeks through the door, announcing with a smile that he needs help too. Yeon-hee realizes that their competition has become obvious, and she feels embarrassed because she doesn't want to be the cause of a fight between them. With each new encounter, Yeon-hee realizes that it's becoming more and more difficult for her to deal with feelings that have become deep and sincere. She realizes that her affection for Chanyeol and D.O has grown beyond mere admiration, but she has a hard time choosing which one of them is closer to her heart. She cares for both the cheerful, bright Chanyeol and the caring, quiet D.O. This realization puts her in a quandary, because no matter who they are to her, she doesn't want to lose her friendship with both of them. Back home after another day full of embarrassment and inner turmoil, Yeon-hee sinks into reflection. She realizes that things might change soon, and feels that she needs to be honest with herself. In that moment, she makes a promise to herself to be as sincere and careful as possible, to keep their trust, but also to be mindful of her own feelings. After days filled with worry and embarrassment, Yeon-hee decides she needs more time to herself to sort out her feelings. But as soon as she arrives at EXO's house, things heat up again. Chanyeol and D.O seem to have realized that her attention is unevenly distributed between them, and they each try to get closer to her. Chanyeol does so openly, with his usual directness, inviting her to watch the new movie together. He banters as always, and tries to create a light atmosphere, making Yeon-hee feel lighter and more cheerful. However, on the other hand, D.O chooses a more reserved and caring approach. He offers her to rest and share her thoughts over a cup of tea if she needs to vent. His calm support makes her feel protected and understood. Yeon-hee finds herself caught between two fires. She is genuinely attached to each of them, but she is confused by her own uncertainty. Chanyeol seems to always surround her with warmth and fun, allowing her to feel freer. But D.O, with his attentiveness and care, creates a sense of security and inner peace for her. The presence of each of them has a unique effect on her, and she finds it increasingly difficult to ignore the growing attachment. Soon, when she finds herself alone with Chanyeol, he suddenly broaches the subject of her feelings. He asks if she's uncomfortable with their banter, and if she wishes he'd behave with more restraint. Yeon-hee, a little confused, tries to reassure him and says that his directness makes her happy. Chanyeol smiles, feeling relieved, and a sincere warmth appears in his gaze. He confesses that he appreciates her for who she is, and that she shouldn't be shy about expressing herself. These words touch her to the core, and she smiles back, realizing that her bond with Chanyeol is growing. However, sensing that something more is emerging between Yeon-hee and Chanyeol, begins to act more distant. He tries not to interfere, but his intense gaze betrays his inner struggle. One evening when Yeon-hee is helping him in the kitchen, he suddenly says that maybe she should spend more time with Chanyeol if she's so interested in him. His words sound calm, but there's an undercurrent of sadness in them. Yeon-hee tries to explain that each of them is important to her, but D.O doesn't insist and just nods, as if he's accepted her words, though there's a deep feeling in his eyes that he can't express. Yeon-hee senses that the situation is starting to get out of hand, and decides to put some distance between the two of them to take time to think. She needs to figure out how she feels and how she can move on without hurting either of them. She asks for a day off to be alone with herself and realize her emotions. The next day, when Yeon-hee doesn't show up, Chanyeol and D.O notice her absence, and both become worried. They realize that their rivalry may have embarrassed her, and each blames themselves for her leaving. Both decide that for Yeon-hee's sake, they should try to keep their friendship alive despite the feelings they have. Back at work, Yeon-hee decides to follow her plan and talk to each of the guys to clarify their feelings and avoid misunderstandings. She realizes that her honesty might affect their relationship, but she wants to be sincere so she doesn't cause a rift between Chanyeol and D.O. Chanyeol is the first to approach her, noticing her slight tension. He smiles and says he's happy to see her back at EXO's house, and as if sensing her hesitation, he invites her for a walk. During the walk, he tries to cheer her up and keep the atmosphere relaxed by asking her funny questions and telling her funny stories. Yeon-hee appreciates his concern and gradually relaxes. She feels that she is becoming more open and natural around Chanyeol. She's attracted to his colorful personality and wants to be close to him, though she's still unsure of her feeling. As they stroll along, Chanyeol suddenly becomes serious and asks if she's intimidated by his attention. Yeon-hee is caught off guard by his directness and, a little embarrassed, replies that she enjoys his company. Chanyeol smiles, but his gaze betrays that he wants to say something more. He admits that she's become special to him and suggests that she shouldn't worry about her shyness, because he's happy to see her just the way she is. These words touch Yeon-hee and her heart sinks, but she hesitates to give him a definite answer, feeling that she's not ready to make a choice yet. The next day, Yeon-hee decides to spend more time with D.O. to understand her feelings for him. He invites her to help with the cooking, and they spend the day in a warm atmosphere. D.O. supports and guides her, explaining every step, and Yeon-hee feels that in his company, she finds not only support but also peace of mind. He's reserved, but his caring actions speak more than words. At one point, when she spills water, D.O. calmly helps clean up, assuring her that it's okay and adding that she shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes around him. After cleaning up, they sit down to talk, and Yeon-hee dares to ask how he feels about their friendship. D.O. looks at her with a warm gaze and, after gathering his thoughts, admits that she's become a meaningful person to him during this time. However, he adds that he doesn't want to force her to make a choice if she's not ready for it, and that he'll respect her decision. His calm confidence helps Yeon-hee feel that she's in no rush and can trust her feelings. These 2 days leave Yeon-hee in a state of deep reflection. She realizes that she is attracted to both guys, but their differences create a difficult choice for her. Her affection for Chanyeol is based on his optimism and lightness, which helps her open up, but with it, she feels a warmth and calmness that she has always lacked. After having frank conversations with Chanyeol and D.O, Yeon-hee's life seems a little back to normal. She enjoys her friendship with both of them, but her heart still doesn't know peace. She tries not to dwell on her feelings, but she can't help but notice that Chanyeol and D.O, as attention to her is still there. However, their slight hints of affection don't seem so problematic to her, until one day she finds out that their friendship with EXO has been thrust into the public spotlight. It all starts when a few EXO fans who noticed Yeon-hee next to the band members spread photos and information about her on the internet. At first, it looks like innocent fan interest, but soon things start to heat up. Rumors and discussions begin to emerge, and Yeon-hee feels the weight of this attention. On social media, comments begin to be written to her, and some of them are negative. The situation becomes especially painful when rumors reach her that fans think she is too close to the members of the group. Yeon-hee finds herself in a state of confusion. Her normal life of anonymity is now threatened. She feels uncomfortable and even a little scared as her privacy is violated. Upon meeting D.O, she does not hide her excitement and confesses to him that she does not know how to deal with such pressure. D.O, hearing her worries, expresses his support and tells her that she is not alone. He assures her that no one in the group will let her get hurt and that they will always be there to protect her. Chanyeol soon finds out about this as well. He sees that Yeon-hee is depressed and tries to cheer her up. He invites her to an evening promenade where they can get away from all their problems. On the way, he tells her funny stories about the group and convinces her not to take strangers' comments to heart. Chanyeol says that her smile is important to him, and if she lets other people's words ruin her mood, he won't be able to see her happy anymore. These words touch Yeon-hee, and she feels a little lighter. However, the pressure soon becomes even more palpable when her loved ones find out about her work with EXO and express concern for her safety. The family tries to convince her to stop contacting the group, fearing for her peace of mind and well-being. Yeon-hee finds herself at a crossroads. On the one hand, she values her friendship with Chanyeol and D.O, but on the other hand, she doesn't want to worry her family and bring unnecessary attention to herself. At this time, Chanyeol and D.O, seeing her doubts, decide to talk to the fans themselves. They gently address their fans on social media, asking them to respect her privacy and support their decision to maintain their friendship with her. Their openness eases the tension a bit, and Yeon-hee feels supported not only by EXO members, but also by her loyal fans, who, seeing her sincerity, begin to view her more favorably. The situation around Yeon-hee begins to calm down a bit, thanks to the support of Chanyeol and D.O, as well as the warm words that EXO fans responded to their request. Yeon-hee feels lighter knowing that she has those around her who truly appreciate her and respect her privacy. She returns to her work with renewed confidence, realizing that any hardship is surmountable if there is support around. Chanyeol and D.O, seeing her improved mood, try to keep this positive wave going, and their rivalry for her attention seems to become softer and more relaxed. They begin to spend more time with her, but now it is without the tension that was there before. Instead, they each express their care and attention in their own way, and Yeon-hee finally begins to enjoy this companionship without the fear that it will lead to conflict. One evening, after a long day of work, Yeon-hee suggests that the whole group have dinner together in a cozy setting. Both Chanyeol and D.O enthusiastically support this proposal, deciding that each of them will cook something special. The atmosphere becomes really warm, and Yeon-hee feels like she's not just a guest or helper, but part of their little family. At the table, they discuss funny stories, share dreams and plans, and Chanyeol, as always, enlivens the conversation with his joke. At one point, when the conversation lulls a bit, D.O raises a toast to Yeon-hee, thanking her for being with them and confessing that her presence has been a special gift to them. Yeon-hee smiles embarrassedly and replies that she's grateful to them for opening their lives to her. Chanyeol, for her part, also adds that Yeon-hee has changed their ordinariness and made it brighter. Those words give her warm feelings, and she realizes that her affection for them is deeper than she thought. The next day, when Yeon-hee is alone with D.O, again, he delicately asks how she's coping with her new challenges and hints that he's always ready to support her. He openly expresses his sympathy, but does so cautiously, realizing that her feelings may be complicated and contradictory. Yeon-hee is touched by his understanding and support, and there is a moment of special intimacy between them. She feels calm around him and is grateful that he doesn't pressure her to let her deal with her emotions. Meanwhile, Chanyeol is not giving up trying to spend as much time with her as possible. He suggests that they go for a walk together to distract themselves and just enjoy time together. As they walk, they chat merrily, and Yeon-hee feels how Chanyeol easily makes her laugh and be herself. She realizes that next to him, she can forget about all the difficulties and just enjoy the moment. Chanyeol, seeing her smile, says that he will do anything to see her happy no matter how their relationship turns out in the future. These moments of closeness with each of them become even more exciting for Yeon-hee. Her affection for Chanyeol and D.O grows deeper, but she finds it increasingly difficult to choose between their so different but equally important characters. She realizes that her choice will be difficult, but decides to keep her feelings to herself for now and can continue to build a warm relationship with both of them, hoping that time will sort things out. While she is deep in her thoughts, her EXO friends notice her confusion and cheer her up, assuring her that she will always be an important part of their team, no matter how her relationship with Chanyeol and D.O unfolds. Yeon-hee feels accepted and realizes that her life has become much brighter because of these people. They support her not only as a colleague, but also as a close friend, and she feels that it's not a mistake to stay by their side. After a few warm and fun days with EXO, Yeon-hee realizes that her feelings for Chanyeol and D.O are getting more serious. However, her uncertainty about choosing between them still prevents her from opening up. In the meantime, Chanyeol decides it's time to act more decisively and openly show his feeling. One evening, he invites Yeon-hee for a walk around the city, explaining that he wants to show her his favorite places. He leads her through the quiet streets, and their walk is filled with warm moments, laughter, and candid conversations. Chanyeol is careful to broach the subject of their relationship, and, a little embarrassed, says that she has become much more than just a neighbor and friend to him. He confesses that his feelings for her are genuine, and that he's willing to wait for her to sort out her emotions. Yeon-hee is touched by his words, but she still finds it difficult to give him a definite answer. She thanks him for his sincerity and says that she appreciates his attention and support. Chanyeol, seeing her confusion, smiles and assures her that he'll be there for her, no matter how their story turns out. They end the walk on a positive note, and Yeon-hee feels a warm wave from his caring words and presence. The next day, D.O decides to step up too and spend some alone time with her. His approach differs from Chanyeol's directness. He shows himself to be reserved, but makes it clear that his feelings for her are deep. He says that she doesn't need to rush, but he wants her to know that her presence in his life has made him happier and calmer. This moment becomes especially touching for Yeon-hee. Next to D.O, she feels understood without too many words. These frank confessions leave her alone with strong emotions. Yeon-hee realizes that her affection for Chanyeol and D.O has brought them to a line that they will have to cross sooner or later. She is overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude for their honesty and patience, and realizes that she needs to be sincere not only with them, but also with herself. After having sincere conversations with Chanyeol and D.O, Yeon-hee decides to take a break to sort out her feelings. She realizes that her affection for both EXO members is strong, but she's not ready to make a final choice yet. In order not to create tension, she decides to distance herself a bit, focusing on her work and her daily routine. However, her absence is noticed not only by Chanyeol and D.O, but also by the rest of EXO, who begin to miss her kind and caring presence. Chanyeol and D.O realize that her sudden estrangement is her way of finding herself and sorting out her emotions, so they decide not to push her. Despite their inner turmoil, they respect her choice and decide to wait patiently. However, they each continue to experience the situation in their own way, and their friendly rivalry turns into an unspoken understanding. Each wants Yeon-hee to be happy, even if it won't be by their side. Yeon-hee spends a few days devoting herself to simple pleasures like walking around her favorite spots in the city and spending time with friends to come into balance. But each time, her thoughts return to Chanyeol and D.O, and she realizes that their attention and care have become an important part of life for her. She feels the warmth and sincerity of their feelings and realizes that her estrangement has not helped her deal with her inner conflict, but has only strengthened her attachment to them. One evening, Yeon-hee decides to return to EXO's house to have an honest talk with the guys. When she arrives, she is greeted by all the members, who happily welcome her as a long-awaited friend. Seeing their friendliness and support, Yeon-hee feels that this is where she feels truly happy and accepted. After dinner, Chanyeol and D.O offer to talk privately so she can express her feelings without pressure. She gratefully accepts their offer and, a little worried, begins to talk about how much their support means to her and how hard it is for her to make a decision without hurting either of them. She honestly admits that she doesn't want to choose between them for fear of ruining their friendship and losing one of them. After that heart-to-heart talk, Yeon-hee feels relieved. She's glad that she was able to talk honestly with Chanyeol and D.O, and their support and understanding helped her deal with her inner turmoil. She goes back to her daily routine, trying not to worry about her choices anymore. However, despite this, her feelings for each of them do not diminish, but instead continue to deepen. Now that an atmosphere of calm has settled between them, Chanyeol and D.O decide to no longer compete for her attention so explicitly. Instead, they support her each in their own way, but more discreetly than before. Their friendship strengthens, and they agree that what matters most to them is Yeon-hee's happiness, even if it means that their own feelings will remain unrequited. One evening, after a particularly busy day, D.O invites Yeon-hee out for a walk. They walk down quiet streets, talking about life and dreams. D.O says that despite all the difficulties and uncertainties, he is grateful to her for coming into their lives and helping each of them see themselves from a new perspective. Yeon-hee is touched by his words and feels that she gains confidence and peace of mind around him. Later that night, Chanyeol finds a moment to talk to Yeon-hee as well. He tells her how her presence has brought out traits in him that he didn't know he had before, and how he's come to appreciate their simple, warm moments. He assures her that he'll always be there to support her and make her days brighter, just as she once made his life brighter. Yeon-hee smiles, feeling that her affection for him has become a solid part of her heart. These candid moments with each of them confuse her feelings even more. She knows that her affection for both is strong, and she can no longer imagine her life without their friendship. She decides to put all her worries behind her and let the relationship unfold naturally without rushing things. A few days have passed since the heart-to-heart talks with Chanyeol and D.O, and Yeon-hee feels freer again. There's ease and harmony between them, and she's enjoying every minute spent around her friends. She's glad that she's been able to maintain their closeness, despite the conflicting feelings she continues to have. Her days are once again filled with fun, Chanyeol jokes, and quiet conversations with D.O, which have become a regular part of life for her. However, EXO's life soon makes adjustments again. The group receives an important offer for a long tour overseas, and all the guys, including Chanyeol and D.O, start preparing for the trip. Yeon-hee realizes that they will have to be separated for a while, and the thought makes her sad. She realizes that their absence will create a void that will be hard for her to fill. When Yeon-hee comes to EXO's house to help them prepare for their trip, she notices that Chanyeol and D.O are also worried about their upcoming departure. They try not to show their feelings so as not to complicate the situation, but her presence makes them both think about how important she has become in their lives. They spend every free moment together, reminiscing about the fun days the three of them spent together and trying not to think about their impending breakup. On one such evening, D.O takes Yeon-hee aside and tells her that despite the separation, he hopes she will remain a part of their lives. He promises to write to her and always be in touch, so she won't feel lonely. These words make her realize that their friendship will endure even the distance, and she thanks him for his support. Later, Chanyeol also finds a moment to talk to Yeon-hee alone. He assures her that even on the other side of the world, she'll always be there in his thoughts and that their friendship is very precious to him. Chanyeol confesses that despite his strong feelings for her, he's willing to wait until she's ready to make a decision. Yeon-hee is touched by his sincerity and feels loved and supported. In the last days before EXO's departure, Yeon-hee tries to spend as much time with them as possible, helping with preparations and supporting them. She realizes that this separation is only temporary, but still feels sad about the upcoming separation. When the day of their departure arrives, they say a warm and heartfelt goodbye, promising each other that they will meet again and continue their warm relationship. Several weeks have passed since EXO's departure. Yeon-hee continues to live her life as usual, but the void left by Chanyeol and D.O still lingers. She tries to fill her time with studying, work, and seeing friends, but every little thing reminds her of the days they spent together. She receives messages from Chanyeol and D.O from time to time, and each of their short letters makes her feel happy and warm, as if they are still there for each other. Chanyeol writes her funny, sincere messages with funny stories about life on tour. He sends pictures of the backstage life of the band, tells her about concerts and how much he misses their shared outings and jokes. His messages are always filled with optimism, and Yeon-hee feels like he's doing his best to keep them connected and not let her forget his presence. Every message he writes makes her smile and warms her heart. D.O and D.O, on the other hand, writes more reservedly, but his words are always full of sincerity and warmth. He talks about his reflections, the cities they perform in, and how music and touring keep him focused, but at the same time, he misses their quiet conversations and moments together. His words give Yeon-hee a sense of calm and a reminder of how supportive he's always been of her. He shares photos too, but mostly of quiet and peaceful landscapes that seem to convey her sense of peace. Meanwhile, Yeon-hee realizes that their separation is helping her become more aware of her feelings. She appreciates Chanyeol's sincerity and openness, his ability to give joy and support, but she also values D.O's attention and depth, which gives her a sense of security. These two sides of her liking intertwine, and she realizes that her choice depends not only on which one she feels closer to, but also on how the relationship has changed her. At some point, Yeon-hee decides to take up a new hobby, photography, which she has always dreamed of but never had time for. She picks up her camera and starts capturing moments that remind her of Chanyeol and D.O. Fun shots of friends, night views of the city, quiet streets. Each picture seems to be a reflection of the emotions she felt around them. On the weekend, while going through her photos, Yeon-hee accidentally finds one of her old photos from her early days with EXO. The photo captures Chanyeol and D.O laughing and having fun. Looking at this photo, she feels a rush of warm memories and realizes that this relationship changed her life forever. She feels grateful that she was able to experience such strong and deep feelings. When Yeon-hee learns that EXO is coming back, her heart is filled with excitement and anticipation. The long separation has made her realize how important Chanyeol and D.O are to her, and now she's ready to admit her feelings to herself. She decides it's time to make a choice, no matter how hard it is, because she wants to be honest with herself and those she cares about. The day of EXO's return comes, and Yeon-hee prepares a little surprise at their house to greet the guys and express her gratitude for everything they've done for her. She decorates the living room with photos she took while they were away and turns on the band members' favorite music to create a cozy atmosphere. When EXO returns, they are pleasantly surprised by the warm welcome and delighted by her attention. After a boisterous and fun evening, Chanyeol and D.O find a moment to be alone with Yeon-hee. They both sense that something has changed in her presence and realize that she has come to some important decision. Chanyeol is the first to approach. His sincerity and kindness still warm her heart, and he wastes no time asking if she's ready to reciprocate his feelings. Yeon-hee looks at him in awe and thanks him for all the joy he's brought into her life, for his support and ease that has helped her open up. She confesses that his luminous presence will forever be a part of her memories. Chanyeol understands her words, and though sadness slips into his gaze, he accepts her choice with dignity. He smiles and says that he'll be happy to continue to support her, no matter what their relationship is. This moment touches Yeon-hee, and she's relieved, knowing that their friendship will remain strong. Later, she's alone with D.O, and there's a warm silence between them. He looks at her demurely, as if anticipating her words, and Yeon-hee confesses that spending time with him has given her a sense of peace and security that has become the foundation of her affection. She explains that it was his sincerity and caring that made her realize how important he was to her. Then D.O psalms softly, and after hearing her confession, says that she too has become a special part of his life. He is grateful for her candor and for the opportunity to spend these precious moments with her. They realize that their feelings are mutual, and they both feel that they have found something truly important in each other. Yeon-hee feels peace and happiness knowing that her choice was made honestly and without doubt. That evening, their conversation turns to serious topics about the future, how they will support each other and share dreams. Chanyeol, watching them with slight sadness, also feels relieved and happy for his friends. He realizes that Yeon-hee has made a choice that brings her happiness, and that helps him accept the situation. He raises a toast to their friendship, assuring them that they will always be together no matter what. After Yeon-hee confesses her feelings for D.O, their relationship is filled with new, warm moments. Their friendship, which has taken the form of mutual affection, makes the days brighter and more joyful. Chanyeol supports them, despite their slight sadness, and every EXO member shows sincere approval and rejoices for their happiness. Yeon-hee is grateful that their friendship has remained strong and that Chanyeol has accepted her decision with understanding and warmth. Yeon-hee now spends more time with D.O, discovering new sides to their mutual affection. Their meetings are filled with peace and joy, and they build a relationship without fuss, savoring every moment. They walk around the city together, try new foods, discuss their favorite books and movies, all the little things that make their bond deeper and warmer. D.O reveals himself to her as a trustworthy, considerate man, and their bond grows stronger every day. One day, D.O suggests Yeon-hee go to her favorite cafe, where they can spend some quiet time enjoying conversation in a cozy atmosphere. During their conversation, they discuss their future plans, and D.O shares his thoughts with her about how he envisions their life together. He says that he would love to have her by his side despite his challenging life in the industry and busy schedule. His words touch her to the core, and Yeon-hee realizes that their feelings are ready to endure any challenge. Meanwhile, Chanyeol, who hasn't lost his friendly concern for Yeon-hee, decides to create a new project inspired by their friendship and memories of the days they spent together. He suggests that the group record a song about how friendship and love can be a source of strength and inspiration. The guys support his idea, and soon work begins on a song that becomes a symbol of their shared history. Yeon-hee, upon hearing about the project, feels proud that her relationship with EXO has left such a mark on their lives. On the day of the song's premiere, EXO comes together to celebrate its release, and Yeon-hee is invited to the event as their honorary friend. The song, filled with heartfelt lyrics and warm memories, brings a smile to her face and slight tears of joy. She feels how much they have all changed her life, and realizes that her journey alongside them has made her stronger and more confident. As the event comes to an end, Chanyeol approaches Yeon-hee and offers to take a shared photo to preserve the moment. The shot captures them all, EXO, Yeon-hee, and her smile, reflecting happiness and gratitude for every day they've lived with them. This photo becomes a symbol of their eternal friendship and support that will not fade with time. As D.O takes Yeon-hee's hand in farewell, she feels that their future is full of hope and new discoveries. Despite the possible hardships, she is confident that by his side, she will be able to pass any test. They realize that each of them has found more than just friendship, a bond that will be the foundation of their happiness. Yeon-hee's story with EXO ends on a warm note, leaving her with a sense of contentment and peace. She leaves the party knowing that her life has been made brighter because of these people. Though their paths may part, their friendship and love will stay with her forever.